In this video, I want to explain what a performance marketer actually does, how the workflow works, which skills do you need if you want to enter this profession. Most beginners think a performance marketer spends the entire day inside Google Ads or Meta Ads. They imagine someone choosing an audience, uploading an ad, setting a budget, and pressing the publish button. And yes, performance marketers do these things, but that is only a small part of the job. The real job is connecting ad spend to measurable business growth. Let's put it this way. A company gives you money to invest in ads. Your responsibility is not simply to spend that money, and it is not simply to generate clicks. Your responsibility is to understand what happens after the money was spent. Did the company acquire new customers? How much did each customer cost? Did those customers generate enough revenue? Was the campaign profitable? And most importantly, how can the complete system be improved? Let us first compare the common perception of the job with the reality. What do many beginners imagine? You create a campaign, you choose an audience or some keywords, you upload, decide how much money to spend. This is the visible part of the performance marketing. But behind that campaign, there is much larger process. Before launching anything, the marketer needs to understand the business. What does the company sell? Who is the ideal customer? Why should that customer buy? How much can the company afford to pay acquiring one customer? After launching the campaign, the marketer needs to measure customer behavior, investigate problems, test possible improvements, and decide where the next euro of budget should be invested. So, campaign creation is part of the performance marketing. The real value of the marketer comes from the decision they make with those tools. Here is a simple definition. A performance marketer uses paid channels to generate measurable business results and continuously improve how efficient those results are produced. Let us break that down. First, we have paid channels. These could include Google Ads, Meta Ads, TikTok, YouTube, and Microsoft Ads, Reddit, and other platforms. Second, we have the measurable business results. The result depends on the business. For an online store, the result might be a purchase. For a software company, it might be a paid subscription. For a B2B company, it could be a qualified lead or a booked sales call. For a mobile app, it could be an installation followed by a registration or a paid subscription. The important point is that the final goal is usually not simply a click, an impression, or a video view. Those actions may be useful steps, but the business normally wants something more valuable at the end. The third part of the definition is continuous improvement. A performance marketer does not launch a campaign and then wait for success. They look at the results, they identify problems, they develop hypotheses, they run tests, and they use what they learn to make better decisions. That is why performance marketing is not a one-time activity. It is an ongoing process of investment, measurements, learning, and improvement. The workflow usually starts before any advertisement is created. The first step is understanding the business. The second step is defining the objective. The third step is making sure the result can be measured correctly. Then the marketer creates this strategy, launches the campaign, analyzes what happened, and improves the system. After that, the process starts again. Understand, launch, learn, improve, and repeat. For example, imagine that an online store wants more sales. A weak approach would be to immediately open Meta Ads, create a sales campaign, choose a broad audience, and start spending money. A strong approach, however, begin with questions. Which products should we promote? Which products have healthy profit margins? Who usually buys them? What problems do those products solve? What is the maximum amount we can afford to spend to acquire one customer? What happens after someone clicks the advertisement? Can we measure purchase accurately? Only after answering these questions, we can build a campaign that makes commercial sense. This is the most important difference between operating an advertising platform and managing performance marketing. Before launching a campaign, I would focus on 4 areas: the customer, the offer, the economics, and the goal. First, the customer. Who are we trying to reach? What are they looking for? What problem are they trying to solve? And what might stop them from buying? Second, the offer. Why should this person buy this product instead of ignoring the advertisement and choosing for a competitor? Is the benefit clear? Is the price attractive? Is there a strong reason to act now? Third, the economics. This is where performance marketers need to understand the business behind the campaign. For example, average order value tells us how much a customer spends per order. Profit margin tells us how much money remains after the direct cost of product or service. Customer acquisition cost tells us how much advertising money we spend to acquire one customer. Customer lifetime value estimates how much value a customer may create across their entire relationship with the business. This is important because an advertisement can generate sales and still lose money. Imagine spending 70 euros to acquire a customer who places an 80 euro order. That may look acceptable at first, but when we subtract product cost, shipping, payment fees, return, and other expenses, the company may actually be losing money. The fourth area is the goal. What exactly are we trying to achieve? More revenue, more profitable customers, more subscriptions, or a more qualified sales leads? A good campaign begins with a clear business objective, not simply a platform setting. Once the campaign is running, the marketer follows the entire customer journey. Imagine someone sees an advertisement first. Did the message attract their attention? Then they click. But was that click from the right type of person, or was the ad simply interesting without being relevant? Next, they arrive on landing page. Did the page match what the ads promised? Was it easy to understand? Did it load quickly on mobile? Then they explore the product. Was the value clear? Was the price reasonable? Did they trust the company? After that, they might start checkout. Was the checkout simple, or were there too many steps? Were unexpected shipping costs added? Did the payment method work? Finally, they complete the purchase. But even then, the marketer may still need to ask whether the customer was profitable and whether they return to buy again. This is why poor ads performance is not always an advertisement problem. Sometimes the ads is strong, but the landing page is weak. Sometimes people like the product, but the price is too high. Sometimes the checkout is confusing. Sometimes tracking is broken, and the campaign is performing better than the data suggests. A performance marketer needs to investigate the complete journey instead of automatically blaming the campaign. This brings us to optimization. Optimization is often misunderstood. Some people believe optimization means opening the advertising platform every morning and changing budget, audience, or bid, but random changes are not optimization. Optimization is a structured problem solving. First, you observe what happened. Then you diagnose the most likely problem. Next, you create a hypothesis. A hypothesis is simply a possible explanation that can be tested. Then you run a test, measure the results, document what you learned, and repeat the process. For example, imagine an advertisement receives very few clicks. One possible hypothesis is that the message is unclear or the creative does not attract attention. So you test a clearer headline or a stronger product demonstration. Now imagine the ads receives many clicks, but very few people purchase. Now the ads may not be the main problem. The landing page may be slow, confusing, or inconsistent with the advertisement. Or imagine the campaign generates many sales, but the business is still not profitable. The acquisition cost may be too high, the order value may be too low, the product margin may be weak, or the campaign may be attracting customers who only buy once and never return. The performance marketer's job is not just to repeat the number. The job is to understand what the number could be telling us and what we should test next. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine an online store spends 5,000 euros on ads. Those ads generate 5,000 website visits and 75 purchases. The business generates 6,000 euros in revenue. First, let's calculate the customer acquisition cost. We divide the 5,000 euros in ads spent by the 75 customers. That means We have an acquisition cost of 66 euros and 76 cents per customer ad spend. We divide the 6,000 euros in revenue by the 5,000 euros in ad spend. That gives us a return on ad spend of 1.2. This means that for every euro spent on ads, the campaign generates 1 euro and 20 cents in revenue. So is that good or bad? The honest answer is we don't know. We need more information. What is the profit margin? Do these customers buy again? Are there products, shippings, and operational costs? What acquisition costs the company afford? A return on ad spend of 1.2 might be terrible for one company and might acceptable for another. This is why performance marketers should never evaluate a campaign using one isolated number. Metrics only become useful and meaningful when we understand the business context behind them. The marketer now investigates the complete system. They discover that some ads generate many clicks because they are entertaining, but they do not clearly explain why someone should buy the product. The mobile landing page is also slow. The most important product benefit is hidden too far down the page. The checkout has unnecessary steps. Some weak audience segments are receiving too much budget, and the strongest campaign is limited by a small budget. They work with the creative team to develop clearer product demonstrations. They improve the mobile landing page. They move the main product benefit higher on the page. They simplify the checkout process. They reduce spending on weak audiences and move more budget toward the strongest campaign. After these improvements, the same 5,000 euros ads budget generate 150 purchase instead of 75. Revenue increases from 6,000 euros to 12,300 euros. The acquisition cost falls from around 67 euros to 33 euros. And the return on ad spend, or the ROAS, increased from 1.2 to 0.2, around 5. But the lesson is important. There was no secret button inside the ads platform. The result improved because the media buyer improved several connected parts of the system: the message, the landing page, the checkout experience, the audience quality, and the budget allocation. That is what strong performance marketing often looks like in reality. So, what skills does a performance marketer need? The first skill is business thinking. You need to understand how the company makes money, what the costs are, and what profitable growth means for the specific business. The second skill is analytical thinking. You need to look at numbers, recognize patterns, and investigate why performance changed. The third skill is customer understanding. You need to understand what people care about, what makes them hesitate, and what motivates them to take action. The fourth skill is creative thinking. You do not necessarily need to be a graphic designer, but you should be able to develop ideas, messages, offers, and creative concepts that can be tested. The fifth skill is technical understanding. You will work with ads platforms, analytical tools, website, tracking system, and sometimes customer database. You do not need to master everything on your first day, but over time, you should become comfortable connecting these different areas. You will enjoy this career if you like problem solving, if you enjoy both numbers and creative ideas, if you are curious about customer behavior, and if you're comfortable testing ideas without knowing in advance whether they will succeed. You also need to be comfortable with changes, because platforms, tools, customer behavior, and market conditions constantly change and evolve. So here is the main idea I want you to remember. A campaign launcher operates advertising tools. A performance marketer understands why the business is growing or why it is not. And then they use strategy, data, creativity, and experimentation to improve the result. If this video helped you understand the profession, subscribe to the channel. In the next beginner lessons, we will continue breaking down the performance marketing step by step without unnecessary jargons. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.